Hello and Merry Christmas, folks. I'm making this video because, while driving around Sibley tonight looking at the Christmas lights, I couldn't help but think about my Santa helicopter. It took me 2 days to replace 142 bulbs. I had to buy 3 sets of 70 bulb strings in order to get the bulbs and the right voltage. This heli holds over 300 bulbs, and no matter how you do it, with what kind of thing you use to check the bulbs, it takes time, unless you use my super fix at the end. Well, luckily the blinking and sequencing bulbs still worked. That's because they only run half the time and don't get that hot. But the steady lights are out, and no matter what I tried, bulb after bulb was burned out into separate strings. I certainly hate to troubleshoot all the new technical lights if one would go out. Like, how would you know? So you see, in these kind of strings, the bulbs have shunts or shorts that turn on when the filament burns out. That way your lights keep going, but there is a price. Too many burned out bulbs can overload the good bulbs and shunts, so if you see a bulb out, it's a good idea to replace it right away. Let's take a look.
I don't know about you, but I have sure had my share of experience over the years with burned out Christmas bulbs. And I'm going to tell you right now, some of the equipment that they have that we can use to try to fix these sets works pretty good. In other cases, not. And when all the bulbs go out, it takes a long time to fix. And I know because I just got done replacing 142 bulbs in my helicopter. That took 2 days to fix. How come when one bulb burns out, a couple burn out, next thing you know they're all out, a whole string, half a string goes out? Well, I'm going to show you why. This works pretty good. If you have a shunt burned out, and I'm going to explain that in a minute, you take this bulb out and you plug this in and you click it several times, and that will normally re-shunt the lights and they'll turn back on. So when you get down to the point where the shunts don't work and the lights are still out, you need to start checking the bulbs at least one by one. You can do it with this and find out the dead bulbs. Now in many cases you're going to find a whole bunch of dead bulbs, and I'm going to show you why. The way this works is, let's say these are your bulbs in the string. Okay, let's take this one first. The first one burns out. Okay, the shunt takes over and the power goes to these bulbs. Now what happens is they get a little bit brighter. Okay, and then this one burns out. The shunt takes over. Okay, and these are all working, but they are also brighter. And then this one burns out and the shunt takes over. And then these two are so bright, and all the rest in the string are overloaded with voltage now. They all pop, 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 and they go down the line, and that whole string goes out. And by temporarily re-shunting this with one of these will only cause the rest to be brighter, and you can understand how that works. This is a simple schematic here that I've drawn up. You can see I'm representing 3 bulbs is equal to 35 for my 70 string set, and there's a left and right set here, and this is how it's wired up. You can see the end bulbs all have 3 wires, and the 2 center bulbs all have 3 wires, and that's how they have it set up. Obviously the first thing you want to check is your fuses. They go in the plug right here. They're usually built into the plug. When your Christmas string lights are on, here's what we've got. We've got 115 volts right there. It goes in all the way around and then all back through all the bulbs. When all the bulbs are lit, they are 3.7 volts. And we can find that out by just measuring the voltage right here.
Well, typically a 35 bulb string uses 3.5 to 3.7 volt bulbs. This string is actually 2 separately wired sets of 35, thus a 70 string set.
We'll take the shunt line and we'll pop that in there and see 3.4 volts, about 3.5 volts. So 3.5 volts. Now if I put that back in, let's say that this bulb burns out and the shunt takes over. So the shunt is like this scissor switch. Here we go. See, I have them shorted out here. Okay, 3.7 volts. If I was to take out all these bulbs and short them out with the shunt, the bulbs would go from 3.5 volts to maybe 7 volts, and then of course that will burn all the bulbs out. Okay, just to prove the theory, I'm taking one bulb out right now and we're going to measure the voltage, and I am measuring it. It is reading 3.36 volts. What I'm going to do is just pull these bulbs out, and I'm going to short them out with a little piece of solder, like the shunt. Alright, now, not disturbing too many things, let's measure the voltage on it now. Now, the voltage has gone to 11.2 volts. So those 4 bulbs out, now the rest of these bulbs, if you look, they're pretty bright compared to the other string, which is pretty dim. So you can see why. What's going to happen here is when more bulbs burn out, the rest of the bulbs are going to take the load, and pretty soon, like flash bulbs, boom, 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 and they all go out at once. Now the reason one string goes out and the other part of it stays lit is because there's exactly 35 bulbs on here. That's what's required to make the voltage the right way. So they're wired split, so when the shunt line gets halfway, it twists around and runs its own loop. The light bulbs each have only 2 wires, and the shunt line runs beside it. I call that ground a shunt line, the one that makes a U-turn. Now when you get the bulb number 35 right here, notice the 2 grounds come together, and that makes the U-turn and heads right back to complete the circuit on this side.
Note, if you're troubleshooting on a tree, it's helpful to know the center 2 bulbs in the strings always have 3 wires each, so it's easier to find.
The other set of lights is a whole separate circuit. So if you're troubleshooting, just remember you got 2 sets here, and this is a 70 set string. Okay, now that we know how it works, finding a bad bulb or a broken shunt is always the problem. Here's a known bulb, a known good bulb. I'm going to check it right here. I can check each one of these bulbs if I wanted to. But this little device is pretty cool, and this is a way that you can check it. What you want to do is hold this button down and check for AC voltage along the line in the string. When you can't find AC voltage anymore, and that beeping stops, it could be that one. Just pull this and check. It doesn't light. Let's try this. That one lights. Let's stick that in and see what happens. Bingo. There you go. And I see a bulb burned out over here. So I have to replace that right away, or we're going to lose the set. So see, not only was this bulb burned out, the shunt was burned out. And here's something else. You know, typically they give you 2 blinkers when you get your light set. The reason is you got to have 2 sets. Now that's going to blink only the right side. So that shows you've got 2 sets over there. If I wanted to get the other one to blink, I put that bulb in this side. So, take that out. Put in a good bulb. This is a bad bulb. I can go ahead and replace that with a blinker. The set will last quite a bit longer with the blinker in it. But in reality, folks, all the gadgets and everything aside, the easiest way that I found that works every single time for me, that takes the least amount of time, is to do this. Buy a new set of lights.
Well, happy holidays, folks. I hope I explained this well enough so you can fix your own lights and kind of have a general idea how it works without getting too heavy into the electronics. Thanks very kindly for watching and for subscribing. Merry Christmas.